of the country.
Prince Harry has vowed to continue the work of his mother, Princess Diana, in raising awareness of landmines and unexploded munitions around the world. In a speech at Kensington Palace to mark International Mine Awareness Day, Harry said he wanted to help finish the job and rid the planet of landmines, 20 years after Princess Diana's campaigns in Angola and Bosnia. Well, today, Cambodia, Sri Lanka and Afghanistan are the most mined countries in the world. The number of people killed or injured by landmines rose by 75% in 2015 to nearly 6,500 people. That's largely due to the conflicts in Syria, Libya, Ukraine and Yemen. Most of those casualties were civilians. Globally, more than 60 million people are at risk of death or injury by landmines today. Well, in his speech, Prince Harry honoured the legacy of his mother and urged the world to remember the victims of landmines.
She knew she had a big spotlight to shine, and she used it to bring attention on the people that others had forgotten, ignored, or were too afraid to support. My mother had been shocked and appalled by the impact that landmines were having on incredibly vulnerable people, and on children in particular. She didn't understand why more people were not willing to address the cause of so much suffering.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined in the studio by Simon Conway of the Halo Trust, the largest mine clearance organisation in the world. And by webcam from Sri Lanka, we can talk to Janani Thambaiah of the Mines Advisory Group based in Colombo. Now, Janani, first, welcome to Global. Tell us about the kind of work that you do in clearing mines, what kind of challenges you face.
MAG is working in Sri Lanka since 2002. Since when the humanitarian demining started in our country. And we are currently working in two districts, Mana districts in the northern province and Batticaloa district in the eastern province. Our work is actually enabling the internally dispersed people to return back to their homes, to start their livelihood activities, and our work is also contributing to the national peace-building process and reconciliation process.
Are there many areas which are really no-go areas still?
Actually, Mines Advisory Group, we conducted a resurvey with a collaboration with the National Mine Action Center. We have concluded the resurvey last December, and now we clearly know where the mine contaminated areas are in all the districts. So the work has become a little easier now. We clearly know where the contaminated lands are.
Well, it's good to hear that progress is being made on this very difficult endeavour. But Simon, give us a kind of global picture. I was surprised to hear about the numbers of those affected jumping in the last year we have the data for.
They have jumped, although if you look back to 20 years ago when Princess Diana walked through one of our minefields in Angola, there were 10 times that many casualties happening. So we have seen an increase, but in terms of the kind of global catastrophe we had then and now, it's unfortunate, it's desperate for the people involved, but it's not on that kind of scale, and it's to do with ongoing conflicts that are happening at the moment. And there are places like Sri Lanka actually where there's, as we've heard, there's really good progress. I was there in 2002 as well, and Jaffna, it was effectively a no-go area. It was so full of mines, and all those mines have been cleared, and we're probably within 2 to 3 years of being finished in Sri Lanka if the sufficient funding and political will is there, which as of last night, it seems like that political will is there.
Let's go back to Janani on that. Do you feel you're getting enough outside help for this very difficult task?
I firmly believe that removing all the landmines in our country as well as in all the other countries before 2025 is possible with the continued support from the donors in the future.
And Simon, if we look at areas, we're talking about Syria today, following, that other awful form of war. There appears to have been a poison gas attack. If you're thinking about demining, can you even get into the country? Is it safe to observe?
It's problematic. It's difficult. I've been inside Syria and I've seen contamination, particularly with improvised explosive devices. I mean, one of the byproducts, in a sense, of the mine ban treaty is you can't buy mines on the open market anymore. They're not being manufactured, and so we're beginning to see artisanal. We're beginning to see improvised devices increasingly. But that said, they're relatively easy to find in terms of because they tend to have large amounts of metal content. And I'm not trying to downplay the seriousness that IEDs pose, and particularly booby traps, but actually it's a much smaller problem than the kind of huge mine laying that we saw in the 1970s, 1980s and 90s. And that kind of large-scale mine laying in places like Cambodia, in Sri Lanka, Angola, Zimbabwe, and Afghanistan, I'm convinced we can clear those mines by 2025. Somewhere like Afghanistan, it will depend district by district, depending on the security situation. That said, Mullah Omar declared a fatwa against mines when he was running Afghanistan. So actually there may be room within the Taliban to accept mine clearance in a lot of areas. So I think we can make progress there, but that leaves problematic situations like Syria and Yemen and Libya, and we need to find ways of getting into those places and working. And
Simon, I have to thank you at this point, Simon Conway and Janani, thank you for joining us from Colombo, because we are talking about warfare in Syria, and what's happening now is that at the United Nations in the Security Council, the US is making its point of view